friends. This is Alia Jamal, the Heart Mentor, and let me just let another person in. Today, we are learning about something so I would say subtle. Hi, Alexandra. I'm recording and I'm also live streaming to Facebook. Just so you know, if you want to turn off your camera, you can do that. So every Thursday we go deeper into a topic. It's suggested by one of the community members, or I come up with it. This is the one that was suggested, and that is the power of stillness and how nothingness opens the door to everything. These are the concept that we all have heard, be still inside. So today what I'm going to do, we are going to go into three different layers of what it really is, why we want to nurture stillness, and then you're going to learn a very easy way to tap into stillness. We don't need to work on ourselves or in controlling our mind for decades. Yes, you can do that. I've been on this path for a decade. I experience more inner stillness now than I did even last year. But there are shortcuts, my friend, and I'd love to share those with you. So before we go deeper into the technique and what it is, first let's learn um, what is stillness. So when we talk about the power of stillness, or you hear be still, it's be without any movement. And the reason it is suggested, the power that has created the universe is still, it's resting. There is not movement in it. So naturally, when that power has created us, what we work towards, work towards stillness. When you're laying on sofa watching Netflix for 8 hours, how difficult is that for you? It feels effortless because that is our nature. We work really hard throughout our life just so we can retire and sit by pool and sip on a very yummy drink all day long. So even our life cycle is all designed to when can I rest? When can I be still? And there's nothing wrong with that because that is an inherent tendency we have. So instead of waiting till you retire or waiting till you go on vacation, when you start practicing stillness in your day to day, then when that becomes your way of being, that is when you start to experience what it feels like to be God in human body. And that is my most fascinating, amazing subject that I am always exploring. But what happens from that point, you can create whatever you want. You can create anything you want. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches very heavily about it, how to connect with the field of infinite possibilities, and then you can create any reality you want. That whole concept is based on stillness. Now, let's get into um, what is the magical thing that stillness does that day to day doesn't. Usually, when you are present, even right now, I'm present, I am more in beta wavelength. I am present. I'm already thinking what I'm going to say. We are having a conversation. I'm teaching something. Or let's say if you're in front of me, we are going back and forth. My mind is very active. And if I don't have a very controlled way of projecting my thoughts, what will happen, my life or my next moment will be created by the collective consciousness, which is most of us. That's why, even though you are maybe more educated than your mom, maybe you're living in a better situation than your mom, but your life would look a little similar or a lot similar to whatever your parents have gone through because we are still living on their timeline. Or another way to look at it, maybe there is a war going on the other side of the world, but you wake up feeling anxious. You wake up feeling really afraid, and you don't know why. Because again, we are part of collective consciousness. So that collective consciousness keep creating your life. Everybody else is going through, let's say, inflation, and all of a sudden, and you were just thinking about inflation, and then all of a sudden you lose your job. That is collective consciousness. When we practice or when we learn how to be still within me, how to just be calm within me, how to be present inside of me and not be scattered outside of me, the most magical thing that starts to happen, you can control what happens next in your life. I call it creating your life. Just today, I was having a conversation with someone and they were like, "So, how did you meet your husband?" I said, "I created him." Now, to any normal human, that sounds so weird. And let's talk about a religious human. They would say, "Ali is so arrogant." But my friend, that is how simple life is. When you are sitting in the driver's seat, you control where your car is going to go and not the flow of the traffic. You control where your life is going to go. You cannot do that if you are not practicing inner stillness. I'm sure you have friends, you have family members, or maybe you're one of those people that you have created massive success. And I'm talking about financial success because that's the easiest success to create. You have created massive success, but you feel anxious all the time. You're afraid your business will fail. You're afraid you'll lose money. You're afraid that you're going to make a bad decision, even though your income is going higher and higher, but that fear is going higher and higher too. That is a person who does not practice stillness. When we practice stillness, we create from a place of detachment. Because in that moment, you are in the field of infinite possibilities. You're not limited to, oh, what is possible for my current version to experience next. For example, when I went through single parenthood, so, a woman who's struggling financially, she's alone, she's not feeling very emotionally well. What is the best thing that can happen to her? Like, maybe her finances will get better. Maybe she'll feel emotionally a little bit better. Maybe she'll find a decent person to be next by her side, right? That is like natural progression of things. But if you want the impossible things, that is when you go towards inner stillness, detachment, and creating from a place of infinite essence. That's what I did. That's why I was able to shift massive things within 4 years. That is how powerful inner stillness is. And don't worry, I'm going to teach you how to get there with very easy steps. It's not difficult. When you are maybe like, reading a book like, what is that book? I think I have right here. Like, the book like The Seed of Your Soul or Surrender Experiment or by Michael Singer or Untethered Soul, you'd read all those concepts. And I was reading all these books through my divorce case journey. When you're reading that, it's like, yeah, it's so good to read it, but how do I get there? How do I become the person who can experience detachment while my mind is so busy telling me all different stories? So that is what we'll be learning today. So that was a little bit like, why practice stillness. Now let's talk about why it is so hard to practice stillness. One of the thing I'm learning this year is how to experience God in every single moment. So all the techniques that I'm learning are different, branches of study I am in right now. They are about how to control your mind. And every teacher has said the same thing. Don't think you'll be able to control your mind and then it will just go offline. This is something you do every single day. So, my friend, if you really want to create the most beautiful, most expansive life that's possible for you, know this: you will do that every single day. It's not something you'll do today, you'll learn it today, you practice it today, and then tomorrow you can forget about it. When we are dedicated to do something small and boring every single day, something simple every single day, that is when you can control your mind. Controlling your mind is very easy, it is very simple, but it requires work every single day. Now, the role of the mind is like, it's ruled by ego. lack of lack of better ways to express it. Your mind is that chatterbox that will nonstop go me, 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 me. It will go into fear. Fear is all about you. Your insecurities are all about you. Your guilt is all about you. Your shame is all about you. Your imposter syndrome is all about you. Your doubts are all about you. That is what mind does. It makes everything about you. So the opposite of mind is the heart. That is my territory. Heart is where the soul is anchored into the body. When I want to go into the endless, the infinite, it requires opening my heart. It requires coming out of the mind and going into the heart. So that is when we go from me, me, me to be, we all are one. Now, you are part of me. I am part of you. When we get to that space where I become part of everything, we call it nothingness. When you tap into that nothingness, that is when you can have everything. So it requires getting us out of the mind. And again, I'm going to show you very simple tricks to get out of your mind. You'll be able to stay there guaranteed for about 20 to 30 seconds. And the more you practice it, the more you can stay there. So when our mind is so overactive all the time, it's a very hard for us to go into stillness. Sometime one of the things you will be taught, if let's say you go to a meditation retreat about stillness, they'll have you sit there and with your eyes closed, and the suggestion would be watch your thoughts. Don't engage with them. Watch your thoughts. um, I like to just dabble into all kind of different things. There are ways where you can completely shut off the mind. And when I experience that, I'm just full of joy because it's so much fun when your mind is shut off. And that is to activate your heart. When you are consciously activating your heart, your mind goes offline automatically. So some advanced meditation do it, and they are not available, my friend. They are not available on YouTube. What I'm going to share with you, I'm taking bits and pieces of those meditation that are oral um, teachings. You are not going to find a copy of them. You're not going to find on AI. You're not going to find it on YouTube. Trust me, I tried. AI told me this is something that can only be learned by a master. I cannot teach it to you. So you can turn off your mind when you get into a habit of activating your heart. And again, this is an energetical shift. You don't have to sit there, spend so many years working on it. Um, Another aspect that make it a little bit hard for us to work with the mind or go into stillness is the attachment of the ego. So again, you can denounce the world and you can go become a monk and live in the mountains. That is one way of practicing detachment. But for me and you, it's our fear, it's our lack, it's our ego that keeps us attached. I want a big home, of course, so people can see I have a big home, or my family can be impressed by me. So someone can see, well, she can go from zero to somewhere. When we hear the stories like from rags to riches, people are admiring it and we're so happy about it, and of course the other person is getting energy from it unless they are very advanced in their inner work. So when we are so used to getting energy from other people or from our accomplishments, then it becomes a little hard to get to that place of detachment, and that does require practice. Because as long as you're attached to the outcome, you're not going to be open to the infinite. Because then you're narrowed. You're like, this is what I want. This is what I want, and show me how to get that. But you don't even know that maybe there's something better than that exists for you, but your mind cannot comprehend it because it's attached to that one thing that you want. That, my friend, is ego. And there's nothing wrong with it. to have that, because that is how we exist as human. That is why we dress up every day, we take shower, because we don't want people to smell our body odor. Having ego is not a bad thing. But when you want to create that infinite space within you, that is we want to invite detachment. The way I invite detachment into my goal, I look at, if I achieve this, who benefits from it? That's how I invite detachment, because then it's not about me, it becomes about everybody else. So I want to invite this question in your life, whatever you're working towards. Even you want to maybe practice the skill of stillness. When you do become still more often than now, or you are able to come out of your mind, who benefits? Of course you'll benefit, but who else benefits? Would you be able to share more light with the world? If your income will go higher, would you be able to help more people with that money? If your health gets better, would you be able to help more people now that you have more energy? If your career advances, are you going to be able to help more people? When you make it about the collective, that is when you can really drop into stillness. But as long as it stays about you, it is very hard to go into stillness, because that is a place where we all become one. That is the field of infinite possibilities, and me and you are no longer separate. We are separate when we are focused in our bodies and we are focused on our physical form. Then, of course, you're sitting there, I'm sitting here. But when we go into the field of infinite possibilities, oh, there's no separation. Everyone is one already. And those are the tips and tricks I use to continue creating my life from that place. Now, another thing that makes it very difficult to quiet our mind, and this is the first thing I was supposed to talk, and that is it feels very unsafe. Now, for those of us who have experienced, you know, trauma, it could be as extreme as, maybe you lost a loved one, maybe you saw a tragedy in front of you, maybe you experienced sexual abuse, you experienced physical abuse. We all go through some version of hardship in our life, but then if it's something that has really left an imprint on your nervous system, I see that in PTSD a lot. It is very difficult for you to be in stillness. And the reason is because as soon as everything goes quiet, now what is left? The noise inside of us. And that noise is not something that you want to hear. That is the noise of what happened. That is the noise of what you still feel about it. That's it. That is the noise of your emotions. That is the noise of you still have not embraced it, processed it, walked through it. So usually what happens, if you have noticed it, if you always need something in the background, it could be even frequency music, it could be TV running, it could be water running. That means you have very hard time going into stillness, and that has to do with it is not safe for your nervous system. So keep that in mind. If those are the things that you experience, don't just try to push yourself into stillness. I'll share with you a workaround which you can practice and eventually go into stillness. When I started my journey, it was very hard for me to be alone. It was very hard for me to still sit still, and of course, my mind was not still at all. So it has been a gradual progression. There's nothing wrong with you. That is just where your nervous system is. That's why when two people go to the same retreat, I went to a silent retreat a few weeks ago, one person will have a very deep experience, and the other person was just fighting with their mind because the other person's nervous system is not ready. So it's very important you keep that in mind. If your mind is overactive, there's a reason for it. Of course, you can work on yourself. One of the things that I did, or I suggest, or I lead my clients through is to do the childhood trauma work, when we connect with that child and when we start to give her energy and we start to take energy from her, your inner noise calms down because that requires a lot of steps, facing your trauma, moving through it, um, healing that gap that it created within you. So that is one pathway. Whenever you're ready, you can take it, but just know if you have hard time being still or even trying meditation, or if you're against it, if you think your running is meditation, that means your nervous system is not ready to go into that stillness. A lot of people, they think meditation is whatever you believe meditation is. So some people, they go with running as meditation because they get high. And I would tell you, I have been practicing meditation, I would say regularly for 7 years. And I can tell you what you achieve sitting there with eyes closed in the field of nothingness, what you achieve there, you do not achieve that with walking meditation, with running, or just going for hiking. That's just how we are set up. It just doesn't happen because when you are moving, your brain is still active. And it's not that there's something wrong with you, one is a good or the other. It really depends on the desire that you have, how deep you want to go within yourself, how how expanded you want to feel in your presence, how much you want your energy field to develop. So it all depends on that. So now let's get into what can you do to invite stillness so you can truly start connecting with the nothingness that already exists within you to create impossible things. Now, there's two ways before we even start. One is you can just practice it just to have this skill. So when your kid is throwing a tantrum, you can just go into stillness and their screaming won't bother you. Or if you're on a long trip with them, their screaming won't bother you. Or you can practice stillness to create, to really be present in your heart, be one with the field of infinite possibilities, and create. Now, if you want to use it for creation, I would suggest write down what do you want and put it in front of you. Because when we slip into that deep stillness, it's a little difficult to engage your mind. You can have a picture, you can have a vision that you can bring up, but what I have found easier to practice to have a thing written in front of me. It is so much easier because then I don't have to involve my mind. If you don't even use it for creation, if you just keep going into the infinite field and being in stillness, you will see so many things in your life will naturally start to get resolved because you are getting to a place. It's almost like, going into the ocean. If you go into the ocean, you get wet no matter what you do. If you keep going into the ocean, you keep going into the ocean, all those extra stuff is getting washed off, and you start connecting to your true essence within you. But in that space, if you bring a vision or you bring a note that you keep in front of you, that's the intention. That is one way too. So we are going to do it in, there are 3 steps to it. Very easy. The first step is, of course, close your eyes. You can do it with eyes open with a lot of practice. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to put your hand on your heart. So when you put your hand on your heart, there's an energy center right here, and there's an energy center, that's the heart center right here. When you put your hand on your heart, already your heart has opened up. So a lot of time, if I'm having a conversation or a difficult conversation and I know that I cannot really be in my heart, I put my hand over here when I'm talking. And sometimes if I'm listening to someone sharing a very difficult part of their life, I put my hand on my heart so my heart can stay open. So I don't get sucked into, oh my God, what they went through, because that is not what they need from me. They need my heart open so their heart can open too. That is how we can ever be of service to anyone. So your heart can open this way. I'm going to take few breaths, and then Again, we're going to now, I'm going to keep my eyes closed. So, eyes closed, your hand on your heart, and now focus on your inhale and your exhale. And after three, now focus on the gap between your inhale and exhale. There's a very tiny gap. Do not hold your breath. Keep it natural and just focus on that gap. Your awareness is on your heart. Your hand is on your heart. And at the same time, your awareness is on your breath. And the third level of awareness is the gap between your breath. Just stay there for about 30 seconds. Now pay attention to what is happening in your body. Is it getting relaxed? Mine right away goes into a very deep, still space. And one thing you'll notice, your mind will kind of quiet down. Once you stay in this space for about 60 seconds, you can even put a timer. That is when you can bring the thought in your mind or the intention that this is what I want. You might start to travel in your inner world. You might start to have very clear visuals. You might find yourself in an empty space. There's no wrong or right way of being. And you can stay focused on the gap between your inhale and exhale as long as you want. The longer you stay there, let's say if you can do this practice for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, if I could show you how your energy field is shifting, just doing what we did, and it's not an easy practice to do, to have three focuses, be focused over here, focused on your breath, and focused on the gap between the inhale and exhale. It's not easy. I mean, I can do it because this is something I practice all the time. But when you will practice it more and more, one of the things you will experience, you feel more anchored inside of you. You're less here, you're more here somewhere, or you feel more internal instead of being external. And that is what the little shift that starts happening. And while we were doing it, if you're still doing it, while we are doing it, I know while I was doing it, I could feel myself in the field of infinite possibilities. I could feel right away, again, because I practice a lot, I could feel right away that I am one with the universe. I am one with everything. Everything I desire is already mine. Because you can't even desire something if it's not already yours. I cannot desire something that you desire. Like two people desires are not usually the same. Unless it's coming from comparison, then they would be same. Because we all have different things that already exist for us. So I would say in the beginning, practice going into stillness, um, really realizing the power that it holds is you really can create whatever you want. You can create a healthy body. You can create a healthy relationship. when you start to go into stillness, because that is when you're coming back into the driver's seat. Now you can direct what you get to experience in the physical world. First, I will invite you for 7 days at least. Practice this every single day. So it becomes a routine. And then you can use that space to create. When you go into deep stillness, you can bring whatever you want in your mind. For me, in all honesty, at this point, I don't I don't think anything. Like my mind goes nowhere because it's such a blissful experience, that experience of oneness, that I just want to stay there. So again, 3 steps. Um, First one is your focus is on the heart and your hand is here. And then you're focused on your inhale and exhale. And the third is the gap between the inhale and exhale. And if you want to go a little bit advanced, just a little bit advanced, in that gap, when you're going in the gap, imagine you could see a candle light inside of you, a lit candle inside of you. That just makes your whole practice time thousand. Because what we are doing, we are connecting with your inner light, we are connecting with your soul light. It is such a powerful practice, very simple, but metaphysically is such a powerful practice. You're going to feel on top of the world, just spending about 20 seconds what we did. Just 20 seconds, because what happens, your whole energy shift changes. I don't know if you can tell the difference, my voice before I did this practice and now. My voice is a little bit more grounded because I'm a little bit more in my heart. Before, my voice was more over here. And that was how many seconds we did it? So when I come out of my 40-minute meditation, I'm a very chill version of me. So, this is something that I wanted to share with us all, the power of stillness and going into that nothingness. And for those of you who are here, I am going to pause the recording and then we'll go into the Q&A if you would like to stay. So, bye to everyone who's watching on Facebook. And let me just pause the recording.